I'm really excited to have John Wilkening here from johnwilkening.com, a photographer, a father, a pretty cool dude, who I just found out also is a podcaster, has his own show. What's the name of that show, John?
The Creative Bar. It's currently on a hiatus, but I promise new stuff is in the works. Scheduling just can be a pain in the ass. Sorry, not sure if I curse on this thing, but
I don't know either. Let's do it. Let's go. So I've known John for a while. Look, I'm not even buttoned up. Here, I'm going to button up. I'm going to be all professional. Look, I got a cat in my lap.
I literally was like, should I dress up for this thing? Or
I'm dressing up for you, John. I can't do it. I can't do the button.
I was like, I'll give you the t-shirt experience because that's what 75% of times you'll find me in.
Well, I'm here in my studio, so for all anyone knows, I'm in like my normal no pants mode down below. So we still haven't met in person, which is crazy. We've got to correct that at some point.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to talk to you, John, because A, I know you're just a no BS kind of guy, but B, I was writing this article about almost good enough is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a lot of flack, interestingly, for it, like anytime we post anything on the internet. But you're someone that I look at that is fighting that battle of putting shit out it's almost good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to sort of just start by putting you on the spot and see if I can trigger a little mini John rant on this idea of, this feeling we have that something has to be ready or perfect or figured out.
My feelings on that is people hide behind perfect, in that they sit there and you try to engineer the best product, the best sales pitch, the best thing. But the truth is, until we put it out in the world, you have no idea how people are going to react to it, how the product works as a product. There's so many things when you're in that building phase that you literally don't know, and that you will never know until it hits the real world. And so there's no way you can engineer and sort of plan around these unknowns because you don't know them. And there's a really interesting thing when a product hits the world, you get a real honest reaction to how people are going to react. You get the real deal. You could ask 1 million people in focus groups if they're going to buy something, but you're never going to know that they'll actually buy it until you have a buy button and they don't click it. There's a real world, feet hit the pavement thing when something gets out in the world. And so we've all done it, me included, where we sit there and go, okay, I can't look like an idiot putting this product out. I can't look like, there's so much I have to sit there and go, what's the absolute perfect way to launch this so that it's immediately people are going to buy it. And, the only way to get that information is through experience. And so people use perfect as a shell to hide behind it.
Totally agree. I'm going to put it side by side. Totally agree, dude. I love that rant. I feel like it's such an easy way to not get started, right? It's an easy way to just keep planning forever. Mm-hmm. I've done it, right? I'm like, oh, I have my little storefront on Squarespace, but it doesn't have any of the features that everyone says it should have. So I'm just going to shelve that and wait until I can figure it out.
There's always a better way to do something. There's always a more advanced way. There's always but at the end of the day, those tweaks might move the needle 1%. Right. But you could get that product to 99%, and you could spend the rest so much of your time trying to tweak the very tiny bit, but those tweaks are all guesses until you put it out in the real world.
You may be spending all your time tweaking something that nobody wants.
And that's the thing. Like, you know, we get sucked in by our own ideas, and it is hard. It is very hard for us to have perspective enough to know the proper way to tweak things. And the only way you are going to gain that perspective is time, experience, getting that product out in the world. All these things that are not safe. You know, that you can't research your way to a perfect product. You can't plan your way to a perfect product. The only way to create a perfect product is to make 30 shitty products. Like, you know, that
I love that.
But like, that's the truth. Like, and each time you get someone out, like, each time you do something, you gain a certain amount of knowledge that you only gain through doing the work. I mean, history's littered with examples, you know, of Stephen King getting rejected by all these publishers, Seth Godin getting rejected by all these publishers. Like, the amount of failure that is necessary to figure out certain aspects is probably underestimated. You know, and I don't mean that to sound discouraging, but here's the other thing, is no one cares about your failures. That's the thing that's so weird, because when we put out a product and it gets no response, it doesn't get the response we want, it feels such like a public, you feel like you're being paraded through the town center as
disgraced.
Disgraced.
Yeah.
But probably the reason it failed was no one cared. There's a reason that we don't, like, it's such a non-issue to other people.
Yeah, it's a non-event. They don't even know.
No.
Yeah, they didn't even notice.
But we presuppose all this sort of judgment that other people have, you know.
Yeah.
So that, you know, it becomes one of those things where we just bake all that shame, really. We bake all that into that time right before we hit the, like, launch or publish or all that sort of stuff. So you just end up going, I'll tweak it a little bit. It needs to be absolute perfect. Yeah. You know.
Let me, I want to take up I'm going to pull up your site here. Let's see if it goes full screen or not. Which one? Desktop to Google Chrome. I'm going to share this. Hopefully people are seeing it. Are you seeing it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just going to your website because just to set this up for everyone, the reason I'm talking, I probably should have said this at the beginning. One of the reasons I'm talking to John is A, I wanted to trigger his rant, but B, John has tried, John, you're here. You have tried a number of interesting ways to sell your work really early on. And so I want to walk through some of those with you because I participated in some of them, and some of them are new, and I want to sort of talk to you about the different things you tried, what you learned. But one of the things that I did before this call is I pulled up your website. And correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing that hasn't really changed is your site layout. I remember it being like this for quite a while, this sort of tile-based layout, or has that changed too?
There's only been one iteration of the website, but it wasn't a very big change, so it visually carries the same components to it.
Okay. So you have a number of things here. Phil Walk is new, but the store, you currently show two ways right now to purchase from John Wilkening. And one is your Darkroom Pass, and the other is your 365-day project.
Yep.
But before we go into those, take me through some of the early iterations, because I remember Print Scamper, was that?
Yep.
Yeah, that was one, right?
So, so to sort of like set the stage to my journey selling is that, so art right now and is an interesting sort of as a product, if you want to say,
Yeah.
is basically follows two standard channels. You have the super high-end gallery channel that, $20,000 a piece, you have to get picked to these right galleries that sell to these collector bases. And you basically have, fill in the blank, maybe 10,000 people worldwide who make up $1 billion art market, roughly speaking, I'm just throwing
yeah.
that's that. And then you have like the I'll call it Etsy, but I don't mean that as pejorative, but you have this low tier that it's a race to the bottom on price.
Yeah.
Where it's $30 a print, like whatever.
Totally.
Lowest price common denominator.
Yeah, because like I put my stuff on Etsy for a little while, and then like I saw that people were doing the same kind of wood print I was doing. They were starting to do it, but at like a tenth the price.
Yeah. And so there's an interesting thing in that the Etsy market is a race to the bottom. Everything's sold on price, basically lowest price plus a common sort of generic prettiness gets you a sale.
Right.
And then in the top side of the market, you basically it's who you know.
Right.
And you have to get picked.
Yeah.
And so I looked at that market and said, neither channel is attractive to me. So I'm going to try to create a middle channel. And so I have to look at it like, how do I not only price, but how do I sell myself in just as equally creative way as I'm producing the work? Because I don't think, or as creatives, we often try to remove creativity from the business side of things. And I think in some ways we're taking one of our best features away from us. It's almost like trying to fight a battle with one arm tied back. If we're creatives and that's what we sort of hang our hat on, why can't those skills be applied to business?
Interesting point. I like that.
So I looked around and I was like, so here's the traditional markets that are in the art world. But if we break down, art is there's some different aspects, but it's a good. We're selling a good. We're selling JPEGs on paper or wood, or like, but we're selling these things.
You're a realist, John. You're a realist for sure.
I mean, there's a very different. I think art isn't. I will say that though what we're selling is JPEGs on paper, it fills a need that is so deep in our soul that as cave dwellers we painted on the walls rather than hunted.
But we tend to I think your point is like we both aren't creative in how we sell, because it's going to be a nice lead into what you tried. But at the same time, we sort of treat our output as this like thing on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're like, oh, it's art. It has to be like blah, blah, blah. Instead of like, it is at the end of the day, I'm putting something in a box and I'm sending it.
Yeah.
I buy that. All right.
So you like, there's a reverence in creating the art that I have to set aside for a ruthlessness when it comes to selling my art. It's just sort of like, because as artists it's so easy to get hung up on the fact that a lot of the work that you see on my site is a culmination of years of work and failures, but that is mine. That story is a story I could tell, but is also my own story that's not reflected in the work. They just so long story short, so I start looking at what are entrepreneurs who are selling things in creative ways, other goods.
Mm-hmm.
So I look for other people and other ideas in outside markets to apply in the art world.
Is that where you came up with the scamper idea?
Yeah, I stole the scamper idea the same way
Austin Kleon would be proud.
Yeah, but here's the thing that.
But before you go into that, can you explain just? I don't think everybody knows what a scamper. Can you explain what you saw and how you applied it?
So the print scamper is basically the idea is that I release a piece of art, and the initial price was $5, and if a person bought that piece of art, the price would jump up to $10, then 15, then 20, 25, 30. It goes up by $5 increments. So after every purchase, the price would go up. So the first person who bought it would get the lowest price, and it would go up from there. And I love the idea, and I'll explain why it didn't really work for me yet. But it was this idea that you create a sort of a non-artificial demand,
right? Because
there's a scarcity. Because if first person who buys it gets the lowest price, there's no well, this is a limited edition. You like whatever you like. There's not an artificial sort of limitness just because I promise not to hit Control P again. Like
no. But what I love too about it is the scarcity drives visibility. Mm-hmm. Like when you see a piece for $35, $40, I'm like, oh man, people want this one, and I want to get it before it becomes 100.
Oh yeah. And so. I stole that idea from an entrepreneur called Jason Zook, who I'm really good friends with. I actually stole the idea that I'm using for the 365 project from him as well.
Nice.
But the idea is that I could create through volume, I could create the dollar amounts that I need to survive and keep producing art.
So you put the sprint scamper up. Mm-hmm. Was that the first one that you experimented with? Was that
no, I originally experimented pricing my work at ridiculously that standard sort of $400 a print and nothing sold, and then
right.
I went through that phase of because I hit a point where I was like, I did what everyone told me to do. I did what everyone told me to price my work, and it wasn't working. So I got to the point where if what they tell me I should do is not working, why can't I try something else? At worst, it's not going to work, which is the exact same position that I'm in right now.
Totally true. Total.
So it was one of those things where I could just move positions. And the downside is the exact same thing as I'm experiencing. Like the downside, it's not going to get worse. I'm not going to owe people money, but there's upside because it might work.
And so let me talk about print scamper. So you have the idea to steal Jason Zook. It looks like you're on Squarespace. Are you using Squarespace?
Yeah, I am.
So Squarespace is not the most, I love it. I use it, but like the commerce, the storefront thing on it is pretty simple.
Yeah.
So here you are with this idea. A lot of us will go, oh, well, we got to go switch to a different, e-com platform, get something custom developed. And we would have just sat and spun on the idea, right?
Yeah.
So how did you do this always going up in price in something like Squarespace?
So I brute forced a solution by creating, you could use inventory in your Squarespace store.
Right.
So the $5 print has an inventory of one. The $10
so it's sold out.
So it's sold out. So you have to go to the next price down and just keep on going down.
That's awesome.
And that was my first solution of how to do it. Second solution is Jason Zook actually sells it's basically a piece of code that integrates with Stripe. So it automatically bumps the price up. So that's how I did it later on.
Is that what you're doing now with the 365?
No, I'll get into
Oh, okay.
365 in a
Okay, I'll do that later.
second.
So you
But
did print scan.
that software is called Bump Sale. If you're
Okay.
interested in it, it just takes a normal Stripe price, adds a couple like a certain percentage on top of it, so you don't pay for it. It just comes out in trend if you want to
Okay.
save transaction cost. But I,
So
fully
so
really
oh,
good
sorry.
product.
Yeah. So you did print Scamper. You had a
Mhm.
brute force solution initially. You tried that. So what was the experience like?
I love the idea. I still love the idea. The problem for me is that it is a system that relies on volume, and I didn't have the audience, the desire to purchase enough prints to make it worthwhile for me.
Right.
Because it really has, it has to be something where you to get up to, I I think $100 you need to sell like what is it, 20 prints.
Something like that. Yeah.
I think it's 20 prints. So like,
It's okay. We're artists. We're not in that.
but like, so I didn't and probably still don't have the audience necessary to make that system work.
So
So
so where did that take you though? You clearly didn't throw the towel in because I participated in something you did after that. But
so Prince Scamper is actually has come and gone, come and come again twice. There's been multiple. Basically, I ran through the brute force method, took some time off, and then ran it through the bump sale
right.
program again. Basically, as my audience grew, I tried it again, sort of see if the same sort of thing applied. It did a little better the second time around, but not enough to actually really move the needle. It was great. I sent a lot of art out, which perfectly happy with. I put up it's one of those things where I put up the art at that price. I'm happy to thrilled that people bought it. But it also was like every week, just a lot of work, packaging, printing, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, and especially when it's not moving the needle financially enough, that it was one of those things where I had to sort of step back and sort of reevaluate where I'm going with that. So get to that second project that you got involved with was the instant films CSA.
What was that called? I'm trying to remember what we called it.
The Polaroid something.
It was like the Polaroids. I was trying to remember.
So,
and that was it was a subscription service.
Mm-hmm. So the idea was that I created art on subscription basis for the person, and so I basically produced the Polaroids and boxed them up and sent it to them every month.
Yeah, I think I have some here. I had your white box, but I don't think I have it anymore. But yeah, it's one of my favorites of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had little notes written on the back.
Yeah, so
I got some of your pinholes that way.
Yeah, so
look, I'm wearing pants. That's good. That would have been embarrassing otherwise.
That would have been an awkward couple minutes while you searched around for something. Yeah, so once again, really liked the project. The problem was that to get super film technically, that Polaroid film and the way I shot to create the pinholes were not very congruent. I had to shoot, say, a box of 10 Polaroids, and I'd maybe get 2 of them. So it was one of those things where it wasn't very cost effective. I also realized at that point I hadn't figured out how to integrate an actual subscription service within Squarespace. So in order to subscribe for, say, 3 months, it was a large upfront cost, which also provided a barrier to people.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it is a first attempt at a subscription service. I was happy with what I learned, but it was one of those things where
So hold on, we got to stop. So in shorter period of time than most artists would launch an online store, you have done a print scamper, and you've launched a subscription service without the ability to have subscription payments.
Correct.
That is kick-ass, John. That is kick-ass. Right. So you brute forced the subscription service with a darkroom. You ran that program for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so all right, so now go ahead. Sorry. So what did you learn from that, and where did you go? Where did you go next? Because we're nowhere near the end of this journey.
So that one was one of those things where I sort of looked at it from the standpoint of like, it gave me the profit margin per subscription that I needed, but it was one of those where the work involved to actually create the art was vastly, like, very, very difficult. And it was almost, I also realized that it would be very difficult to scale.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I hit 100 subscribers, I'd have to shoot every day, all day, just to get just to, by numbers, produce the images that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those things where I let it die and sort of let it sit on the back burner. And what you see, the Darkroom Pass, is the version number 2 of it.
So let's pull that up. Let me go there now. Hold on. Share screen. Okay. So now we're talking about, hopefully everyone can see this, Darkroom Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So this is under your store. This is pretty. Hey, I think this sounds very much like an idea Mr. Sean Howard was talking to you about.
It is 100% based on the conversation you and I had.
That's pretty cool, man. All right, so I got really cool. All right, so these are not Polaroids anymore.
No.
Oh,
cool.
Cool.
So those are actually prints that I, print off in my ink trainer.
Oh, nice.
And so this is actually version number 2 of the Darkroom Pass. So initially, probably until about less than a week ago, you just got 5x5 prints, and you get 2 every month mailed to you. So, and then as of like last week, I started right now, one of my best friends that lives about 15 minutes from my house is my only subscriber. So I've been guinea pigging, like using her as a guinea pig. And a couple weeks ago, I just started writing, like, I've been getting into a lot of love quotes. I always have. My newsletter has quotes in every week. And I've been getting into sort of the letter using fountain pens and brush pens. And so I started just cutting out 5x5 squares, handwriting quotes, and including them in the Darkroom Pass. And she's been absolutely loving the addition. So,
dude, I just tweeted that. I'm gonna subscribe. That is kick ass.
Awesome. So yeah, that is version number 2 of version.
So version 3. So you did the Polaroid, then you did a first Darkroom. Now you're on your second. Dude, I'm trying to do like a timeline here, and it's getting very messy.
It's one of those things where with me, an idea will stick in my head, and then if it doesn't work, I'll just try to like figure out there's something about an idea that got me in the first place. So like the idea of a subscription service, it's rooted in the idea of having prints in your hand is a completely different way of seeing art.
Yes.
There is literally nothing. There's such a world of difference between scrolling through Instagram and having a print in your hand. And add on to that the anticipation, the surprise, the fun of getting something physically in the mail that you have no idea what's in there. It, to me, is a magical thing, because so much of our lives is so like, I know when the UPS drops off the package on my front porch because I get an email saying they dropped it off, and I already know what's in that package. I check my mail just to throw out 90% of it that comes, and the other 10% is just bills or other things that I just have to make sure it's not something. You're like, it's a way. It's sort of, a big quote, a quote that's sort of been stuck in my head the past year is, I literally have it posted noted on there. I hope you can read it.
Oh, it's an Eno. I can't read it, but I know it's an Eno quote.
Stop thinking about artwork as objects. Start thinking about them as triggers for experiences.
So,
And
dude. So in
yeah.
the time it's taken me just to take photos of my last round of work and get them online, you've launched 4 different major offerings on your online store. And we're not even down to the other. You have another thing.
Yeah, the 365.
Oh my God, John, you're killing me. All right, let's pull that up, everyone. Let's go look at the 360.
So this is another idea I stole from Jason Zuck. So the root of this idea is that it's a 365 project. So every day I'll post another image, and the price of the image. So day 1, the price of the image is $1. On day 365, the price of the image is $365, and there's a single print for each day.
So when someone buys one of these prints, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man.
So the ones you see on this page are the ones still around. So
day
like
20, day 25 is gone.
Yep. So
29 is gone.
So
you get this now, people. You better move fast.
So it's another way where, yes, it's a little more artificially creating scarcity, but it's also an interesting way of doing it in that, like, you own the only version of that print. So that's the only thing that's, but it also has some really interesting, it's one of those projects that even if it fails, I gain so many other things involved that, like, once I got over the shame idea of having all those prints still available for sale as like a public, these haven't sold.
Yep.
Once I got over that hurdle, it was a no-brainer to do.
Wow, dude, this is awesome. So I know this is a bit of a leap, but talk to me about, okay, so we started with this idea of, almost good enough being that just, it doesn't have to be perfect, get it out the door.
Mm-hmm.
You have the potential here with this many iterations of offerings around how to sell and allow people to connect to your art. Like, what does it feel like to have this much momentum, to have this much velocity behind you now that you've done like 8 or 9 different methods or approaches? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what is it? Is there any advantage or?
I think there's a huge advantage, because what you see now is you see the makings of a sophisticated way of producing art and selling art in a consistent enough way that I could do it for my full-time career. Because to pull the curtain back a little bit, so I have this underpinning of a 365-day project.
Yep.
Based off of the image, I have to produce a ton of work for that. Now I could take a chunk of that, move it over, and that's my darkroom pass. They get first cut. Here are prints that only the darkroom pass are going to see. They're given subscription services. Then the rest go in the 365 project. Then I'm creating a zine off of every 50 days.
Of course you are.
Off the 365 day. And this is one of my test proofs. I have 100 of these that come into me, just a random page. But so every 50 days of the 365 project will be in a zine form.
That's awesome, dude.
So now I'm selling. So it's another way, if you don't want to buy a print, but you want a book, like basically a zine, that's another way. So I'm now taking one part of my art and then repackage it again. And then the final piece that you don't see is I want to do some larger one-off pieces, like big canvas prints, like stuff like that. That will be, you know, you really like my work. You have a big space. You have money. They're my lottery tickets. You know,
Nice.
you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I take a couple of some dollars from my, you know, some of the projects, buy a couple big canvas prints, put them up, and they sit around for a year. They sit around for a year. But, you know, the idea is that I put a lottery ticket for that side. I still have all this stuff coming around it, but, you know, and that gives me that whole system.
Mm-hmm.
is basically I've systematized how I create art and how I monetize art. So it's not just nebulous of things. Right. I know what I have to do. I know what I have to produce on a daily, weekly, monthly. I have goals to hit. Like, it makes getting up so much easier. You mentioned you want to talk about velocity and momentum. It is so much easier to get up and do the work you need to do when you know what you have to get done. Yeah. So like, as soon as I hit 50 prints, 50 days in my 365, I know I need to start creating the zine. Once I create it, I need to order test prints. I need
and the zine is the new thing. Like I'm counting 8 or 9, like, things you have tried, some that are still around, but in a new format, right? Like you tested it, didn't work. You tweaked it, you try it again. You tweaked it further based on feedback. If we look at the dark room.
Yeah.
But you're now at night. Do you also get a sense? I want you to go back in your head to John, that, you know, first year, John had quit the financial world, for anyone who hasn't listened to my podcast, you know, bagging groceries, feeding your family, working hard, starting this art. You know, like, do you find now that, like, starting a zine is easier?
100%, because so in our journeys, we pick up skills, we pick up knowledge, we pick up ideas all along the way. And so like, now 3.5 years since I quit finance, what I know and how to do it is so far away from that person who quit finance. Like, the things that I would have never ever considered day one are second nature to me now.
But I'm wondering how much of that is time and how much is that the fact that you somehow committed to just getting shit out in the world and testing it.
I think it's a combination of both. Because I heard a great quote from Derek Sivers, who ran CD Baby for years. He was on Tim Ferriss's podcast, and he had a music teacher because he went to his Berklee School of Music. And he said, normal pace is for chumps. Because this music teacher is like, you're going to Berklee? He's like, I'll teach you 2 years of music theory in 3 lessons. And he's like, this is this, this is this, this is this. So when Derek Sivers got to Berklee, he tested out his first 2 years of school. And the past three and a half years of since finance, my goal from the jump has been to make a living from my art. So it means that I can't sit back and just relax and say, time will, if I just put in the time, I'll eventually get picked by some gallery owner and put in the system.
But dude, that is the decision millions of us are making.
But
you know, like, let me put it this way. The dawn of 3.5 years ago, or 3 years ago, after 6 months in, I don't think that John could have stood, maybe I'm wrong, you may not have been able to as easily stand the idea of having 365 days of photos.
Oh, 100%.
Which ones haven't sold.
100%.
Yeah.
But like, the reason I could stand it now is I've gone through the failures of print scampers where someone only bought a single print for $5.
Right.
So for a week, you go on my website and see that I've only sold one or haven't sold any.
Right.
Like, I've gone through all the like things where my projects haven't worked out. Like, I'm still bagging groceries at Trader Joe's. Like, I don't have it. I haven't crossed a month where I've made more money selling art than working at Trader Joe's. I haven't done that yet. So, but I've gained the tools and the knowledge and put like to get me to put me in a position that I could do that. It's
dude, you've iterated and learned more than most people. Like, dude, it took me 10 months to get photos of my last round of wood prints up on my website. 10 months. Let alone trying to launch a new way to buy my art. So the data points that I have on what people want are far fewer.
Yeah.
The feedback I'm getting on my ability to try the next thing, far fewer, right? Like, I have less momentum, less resilience.
Well, why do you think it took you 10 months? Not to open up the can of worms, but why do you think you took 10 months? Like,
so I ran into a problem. So I ran into this. It was funny. Like, the place where I moved my studio, it's too dusty to do epoxy resin.
Sure.
And I literally was doing these pieces, doing it's really, emulsion transfer is really touchy, right? Like, I'm doing these massive ones where I pull it, and it's almost off, and then it rips at the last second. That piece is ruined. That's 8 hours. But then I finally finish a piece, so I might have resand it down, do it again. So I might be at, let's say, 12 hours on a piece. And then I go to do the final, just epoxy resin it, just put it over top, that glassy, nice surface, and I ruin the piece. And you can't take it off. And it was happening time and time and time. And I just hit this point. I just had this stack of ruined pieces. And I was like learning how to resand epoxy resin. And I had like a hazmat suit on and a rebreather and all this stuff. And I'm learning how to resand them and then refinish it, and I would ruin it again.
Sure.
And I hit this point where I just decided I can't do it, right? Like, that's where because I'm now living in my old studio. So, downsize. And so all the new pieces, I find, John, it took me 6 months just to be like, well, why don't I just make pieces without the resin for now? Like, it literally took me emotionally a really long time just to come back to it because I have other businesses, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, I think I just lost momentum. I lost all momentum. And then I didn't want to touch it again because it wasn't perfect, right? It wasn't good enough.
Yeah, and it's a pain point. Every time you walked in the studio, you saw your failures.
Yes. And so I didn't go to the studio. I stopped going.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think for me, and like along this journey, there have been weeks where, I'm the kid kicking my camera down the street because it's frustrating that I don't see a way out, that I've hit a wall and I don't have any ideas left. I don't know why it's not working. I don't know like anything else. But I actually just posted a blog post today about, like, I heard an interesting article by conversation with Seth Godin, where he's talking about Seth Godin believes, and I do too, that writer's block doesn't exist because no one is incapable of writing. Like, or not no one, but like the people who complain about writer's block are not incapable of writing.
Right.
If someone claimed they have writer's block, he would always ask them, show me the stack of shitty writing, and they never could do it.
No. They're avoiding it.
Because it's always our expectations of our writing that gives. And the solution is we need to allow ourselves the ability to create bad images, bad products, bad things, because the only way to sort of borrow the Stoic idea that the only way, around an object is through we're only going to push through that mess by doing the work. And momentum is everything in some ways, because what we do is we take a small victory and we try to ride out that small victory through the failures till we hit another small victory to ride it out through the failures. And you just repeat this thing to where, there are plenty of days where I pulled film out and just completely blank, every one of them. So not only was dollars for film, dollars for developing, time, all that sort of thing with your wood transfers,
mm-hmm.
You sort of just have to grit your teeth and know that the only way to get rid of that feeling of failure is to get back in that arena and do it again.
Yeah.
Because if you choose never to go do that again, you will live with that failure for the rest of your life. The only way to sort of take that sting away from that loss is to gamble again.
Yeah.
And
that's why I love, that's why I love your story, because I think we're used to hearing that about our work. I don't think we're used to hearing about being ready to fail at selling our work. Because one of the most horrible things I've witnessed is an artist who finally puts their store up, is so excited, and then they don't sell any pieces. And they're like me, they're done. 10 months, they're walking away.
So so I have a couple. Part of me go
ahead, come on, give it the truth.
Part of me feels that the person who walks away after getting punched in the face once doesn't deserve to win at all.
Oh, I love it, John.
Because here's the thing, if someone's in the same game I am and wants to quit after the first failure, then they get to the back of the line. I don't give a I don't I've been it doesn't, I don't what am I going to do? Give you a hug? You're going to get punched in the face again. The only way you're going to get through this is you're going to have to get used to getting punched in the face.
God.
It feels so weird saying this, but so what? None of the skills. Figure out how to sell it. It's a skill. It's not magic. It's a skill. You did it once and you failed. What's the first time you rode a bike like? Please tell me someone rode a bike for the first time and didn't crash. Everyone knows how to ride a bike. Nearly everyone. But
those are words we need to hear, John. We do, because sometimes we just it's too complicated, and that's what I loved about. I have to say your story, because you didn't have $10,000 to get get some guy to custom develop your scamper, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You brute forced it and you kept trying.
But here's the thing, money is the easiest solution to any problem. And it's always the first solution. You have a problem, the first thing you do is, how can I pay to get that problem to go away? What tool, what person, what skill? You always look to, how do I spend money on this? But it's often, that's the most uninteresting solution to that problem, because that's the known solution.
Mm-hmm.
If you're paying someone to fix that problem, that person's got a career fixing that problem, which means that he's going to fix it the exact same way as everyone else. The interesting solution is when you go, okay, I got a coconut, a rubber band, and a shell. How can I make this radio work?
And you MacGyver it, to date myself.
Exactly. You become the doctor on Gilligan's Island who, like, there. Yes.
No, you've said it really well, John, and I love how you said it really early on, dude. Like, why do we call ourselves creatives and yet we sell shit in the most boring manner friggin' possible?
It we sell ourselves in the boring way to protect ourselves, because it is, if you sell work in the exact same way as you're told to sell work, you can never blame yourself for the failure.
Right. But I do, come on, we got to give a little bit onto these mother you-know-who's who love to write books and just tell the world that if you just do these 5 things, like I did, you're going to be golden. It drives me nuts.
Anytime you see one of those, just look to see what art they're selling. If they're not in the game, get the fuck out.
And even if they are, what worked for them may not work for you. The guys that are, so even the guys that are big and have made it, they've forgotten how, for example, I was taking advice from someone who had a newsletter of 10,000 people in it.
Sure.
And I think that they've forgotten how hard that first 1,000 was.
Oh, 100%.
Right? In their world, just put out the promotion to your 10,000 and wait for it to roll in. My
newsletter just broke 100 subscribers 2 weeks ago.
Come on, there's no way. Because I was going to talk about that next. Dude, you have one of the best. You have one of the best newsletters on the friggin' internet.
I love my newsletter. I don't promote it enough, which is half my fault. But yeah,
hey, dude, I'm sending you the code. Like, did you know MailChimp? Are you using MailChimp?
Yeah.
MailChimp has like a little pop-up you can put for your website. And not only that, you can put it on by page.
I know.
You can just have it on a couple pages.
Pop-ups irritate the shit out of me, so I never want. I know they convert like crazy, but like
we got to get more people in that newsletter, dude. That newsletter, shit, half my shit I put in my newsletter comes from your newsletter.
I do notice that. I kind of laugh. It's like one of those things where you're like, and I'll be honest, you're not the only person that I've seen circulate stuff first, but
you're like, it's gold in there. There's so much interesting stuff.
But part of the reason for that newsletter is this is what I do on a weekly basis anyway. I go look at that stuff and I would just send it to my friends. And so I just decided to make it public and you could sign up for it. And
all right, so I'm sharing everyone watching this for the coolest newsletter on the internet that he won't share with the world or tell about. Man, can you even get to it on here?
So we go to blog.
I can't even go under about me, like the contact. Oh,
no.
John.
Yeah.
Dear Lord, dude. Okay, so everyone click on blog on johnwilkening.com, and right here you can join the party. And I got to tell you, it's once a week, and it's short. There's 1 image and 10 of the coolest links about photography, visual art, creative thinking, and it's so sweet and short. I just love it. It's my favorite newsletter, I think.
Yes, thank you. But like, I kind of lost track. You're talking about skin in the game, like doing that. Yeah, I heard an interesting way. I forget where I heard this from. They said becoming successful in art is like breaking out of prison. One person gets out, and then the guards block that entrance, so no one ever could get out of that way. And that anyone who wants to escape has to figure out their own way to go out. And I think that's 100% true. I hope, I feel like it is so much easier to look for people ahead of you and follow their path.
Yeah.
In some ways, I have it a little easier in that I picked a method of photography that there's no known masters. There's no one selling workshops in pinhole photography. I don't have anyone to follow in my creative work. But the beauty of that is if I don't have anyone to follow, it's up to me to push the pace. It's up to me to really blaze that pace, to push the pace in terms of my progress. And I think that sort of idea and that sort of mentality has bled through into other ways, so that, you know, when I put up that gallery, or like that 365 project, you know, you could scroll down. There are way more prints available than prints I've sold. Mm-hmm. But that project has, in 2 months, 3 months, doubled web traffic, made more money than I made previously. And I don't mean this to brag,
this is important.
But part of that is also knowing that I've created a system where those public failings don't bother me.
Well, no, but I think let's poke at that. Let's just end on the 365 day part. That's the third version of this way of selling work. And it's now generating traffic, interest, and the highest number of sales yet. So just imagine what version 5 of that product's going to be. And that can't be that far away, knowing you at the speed at which you have launched these stupid things to now starting to get some success.
I do a handicap myself, and I promise to do it for a year. So there may be like a slight variation.
And I only call him stupid because I'm jealous, you mother.
Yeah. I think Gary Vaynerchuk had an interesting comment when he said, when he was talking to somebody and someone asked him about his failures and like being a public thing, and he goes, the losses are mine. No one else gets to say what they want about those losses. Those losses are mine. I own them. No one gets to dictate the narrative around those. And, past projects, those losses are mine. I'm taking that power away from the invisible crowd that we imagine throwing tomatoes at us, and just owning that success, and taking that power away from those expectations changes the level of bravery that you go forth with your selling.
Yeah, it's funny, John, because for the past, I don't know, I guess going on 2 years now, I've been working on this approach to marketing and helping small creators and small businesses get the word out, learn how to market, reach people, convert people, measure. And I've sort of been trying to figure out, because, I have over 25 years of strategy in the market, but I was trying to figure out what actually makes this shit work with a small business that doesn't have a lot of resources, or a single creator. And it's been really interesting over the past 6 months. I've really been able to look at who I've been working with that it works, and who I've been working with that it's not working at all. Mm-hmm. And who I'm working with that it's working okay. And one thing has emerged over everything else, over having the best strategy, over having the most money, none of that actually matters. What matters, it turns out, is momentum. It's velocity. The people that get excited and keep learning and keep iterating, no matter, and keep adapting and keep changing and going back, it's unbelievable what happens at the 6 month, 9 month mark. They start to create amazing traction. And then I look at the people that just, we get together and we meet every 2 weeks and they just haven't done their work. And it's night and day. And so I've sort of come to this point. That's why I'm calling it momentum marketing, where I've realized momentum is what matters. But I've been watching you and realizing that you are applying momentum to how you test and sell your work. And I thought that's a lesson we all need to be thinking about, myself included.
They often say that people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and underestimate what they can accomplish in a year.
Yes.
It's one of those classic, do one thing every day that could, that you need to do. And, it's amazing what you could do in 6 months. And, it's one of those, you get in the game and take your lumps, keep coming back, and
And you heard it here first. Learn how to get punched in the face. Well, John, I want to thank you. I highly recommend everyone go and check out johnwilkening.com. That's JON Wilkening.com. Join the newsletter, which you can only find under the blog, which hopefully John will correct. Check out the store and some of the amazing things he's doing, and reach out to John. He's really open. He's a great guy, and I want to thank him very much for doing this today.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun, Sean.